I would support impeachment. I think that, we have the grounds to do it.
On what ground should the president be impeached?
Well, I think that there are serious grounds in violations of the emoluments clause from day one.
Ooh, the emoluments clause. Did we go to Wikipedia for that? Well, look, come on. That's the typical left-wing MoveOn.org blather. But here's what you need to know. Ocasio-Cortez is a disruptor from the far left wing of the Democratic Party. I mean, she's attractive, she went all in, and you got to give her credit for what she did. And this is what happens when a political establishment fails to deliver results and refuses to listen to its people, its base, election after election. Now, remember when the Democratic elite, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, DNC head, and Hillary Clinton conspired to keep Bernie Sanders from winning the nomination?
And all you have to do is take a look at WikiLeaks and just see what they said about Bernie Sanders and see what Deborah Wasserman Schultz had in mind, because Bernie Sanders, between superdelegates and Deborah Wasserman Schultz, he never had a chance.
Oh, it was so smart for Trump to bring that up. Now, let's not forget, all the energy during 2016, it was with Sanders. He filled more stadiums, he was more passionate, was always about the working class, and he excited more young people than Hillary Clinton ever could. But though he stirred up the Democratic base, the establishment, they put him down. Well, you can only do that for so long until your voters rebel, which is what they did against Crowley last night.
I think what it should tell the American people is that when you have candidates like Alexandria who have the guts to talk about the real issues impacting people's lives. She campaigned on health care as a right, not a privilege. They'll win in New York City. They won in Maryland. We're seeing this happening all across the country.
Okay, this upset in New York last night, it was the Liberal Party faithful acting out against the Democratic leadership for their ineffectiveness. It's also a not-so-quiet admission, let's face it, that Trump, he's winning on most every front, and he's been able to steamroll the Democrats on key issues. The Republican Party, let's not forget, though, they experienced its own wake-up call back in 2014. Now, Eric Cantor, remember, he was ousted by that barely-known econ professor named Dave Bratt. And then Speaker John Boehner was ushered into retirement not long thereafter. Well, now the bell is tolling for Nancy Pelosi, former Speaker for the Democrats, who was questioned about last night's stunning upset.
The Democratic Party is increasingly younger, more female, more diverse, more progressive. Should the Democratic House leadership look that way?
Well, I'm female, I'm progressive. 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Republicans say that one of the things this defeat shows is that democratic socialism is ascendant in your party. Are they right about that?
No, they're not. It's ascendant in that district, perhaps.
Other Democratic stalwarts like Maryland gubernatorial candidate, former NAACP chair Ben Jealous, were also pressed today about a possible sea change in the party.
What is your thought on Nancy Pelosi sitting at the helm of your party?
Yeah. Again,
you're not answering our questions, Ben.
Wait, were there 2 beats with that pause? I love that moment. Well, look, unlike Democrats, Republicans were not at a loss for words, but cheered the rout from the left.
It was a stunning development. The energy in the Democratic Party is self-avowed socialist, open borders. We even had a credible potential candidate for president in 2020 suggest we get rid of ICE, the Border Enforcement Agency. I think the Democrats are going hard left.
Well, when I said cheering, that's Mitch McConnell style cheering. Before Republicans, though, start popping the corks, there is a lesson here for them as well. Think about it this way. If Republicans start walking back from the Trump agenda, walking away from it, if they get wobbly or try to diffuse the key policies that Trump won on, that he ran on, danger lies ahead. Republicans today failed to pass another immigration bill, and this after they rejected the Congressman Goodlatte bill that was the most faithful and the best as far as the original Trump agenda went. It's really stupid. Meanwhile, the White House backed off threats to strictly limit Chinese investment in U.S. tech companies. Another disappointment. Although at least Beijing and Wall Street were happy. And despite preliminary data indicating a downturn in arrests at the border this month, the government has reverted, at least for the time being, and they had a district court judge pushing them to do so, they've had to revert to this catch and release policy for illegal immigrants who enter the country with children. So that's frustrating. I'd be very careful. If the voters start believing that you're abandoning the core policies they elected you to advance, they'll remove you from office, no matter how much they initially liked you and no matter how much seniority you have. And when the Democrats stir up young voters, as Ocasio-Cortez did last night, promising them the moon, a host of freebies, how are Republicans going to respond? How do they message the conservative populist agenda that's so smart and so right for younger voters? Disruptors create political opportunities for both sides, but their unexpected victories also carry warnings for those who attempt to conduct business as usual. Trump so far isn't doing that, but on the few issues, we have to keep a very close watch. And that's the angle. I ad-lib that.
Kennedy did not have a consistent judicial philosophy, which made him the swing vote. I mean, you have 4 reliable liberal justices on the court right now. And I mean, we know how they're going to vote. In 9 out of 10, 99% of cases. This is important because there's been at least 25 times that Anthony Kennedy has sided with the 4 liberal justices on the court. This is a game changer.
What's transformative about this is that the president's committed to nominating people to the court who have a very firm judicial philosophy. You know, people who understand that the Constitution needs to be interpreted the way the framers meant it to be. Individuals who are courageous in that interpretive approach and are not going to flinch. We saw that in Neil Gorsuch, and I think if the president nominates another individual like Neil Gorsuch, what we're going to see is widespread public support, and I would say also probably bipartisan support in the Senate to some extent, as we did with Justice Gorsuch.
Leonard Leo, you may be more optimistic than me. I just look at the Democratic Party today, and I think basically unless you're a saint, and you've never written on the law at all, if you have any judicial philosophy, we know what they want to do, and that's bork somebody. I want to go a little bit deeper, Jay, into the idea. This is important for people to understand. The president does not believe in judicial activism. He believes in separation of powers. He believes in co-equal branches of government. He doesn't believe in citing foreign law. They believe in the Constitution. He believes that justices should not legislate for the bench. That's for the legislative body to do.